Hello everyone, this is Dupsy MCT. You're welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to cut a basic bodice pattern. Come along with me. To draft your basic bodice block for your dress, you need to take your round measurements. You need to have your shoulder measurements, your bust, under bust. If it is, you need the waist, hip, if it is a dress, and also you need the knee measurement. So for this, you need to create your horizontal line on your pattern. You can use the measurement for your hip, which is the largest part of your body, to create the block. You fold your fabric and you use your hip measurements to create the block. So in this example now, shoulder is 15, bust is 36, under bust 34, waist 30, hip is 40. So I'm going to use the 40 for the hip to create the block. So that means you are going to fold, if it is your material, you fold it into two, which is half of 40 for the front. But to determine the measurement for the whole body, you need to divide your measurement, which is 40 by 4. So we need to get the horizontal line, which you have your shoulder line. You can start from here. Let's start from here, which is the shoulder line. We need to leave this space so that we can get a straight line to begin our horizontal line. So let's assume that this is our shoulder line. So we need the bust line. So to get your bust line, you need to divide bust by 4, then you add 1. So the bust I'm using here is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 9 add 1 is 10. So from this shoulder line, I will take 10 inches down. So on the shoulder, I'm going to take the neck width. If you don't know the neck width, you can just divide, and just take tape measurement, measure your neck round, and you divide it, whatever you get, by 5. So you get an approximate neck width. Or you can just use 3 inches. So I'm going to use 3 inches neck width. So from this point, this is the front of the dress. So this is the front pattern. So you take 3 inches width, and I want the depth to be 4 inches. So that's 3 inches wide and 4 inches deep. So I'll take 4 inches down. So take 4 inches down. Let's try to create a block, because this is a beginner friendly. So let's construct the block for the neck. And from this point, come in by 1 inch. This will be easy to create the curve for the neck. You can just use free hand to create it, or you use your French curve. And that's your neck. So to now get the shoulder slope, so on this same shoulder line, you take your shoulder measurement, divide by 2. So the shoulder measurement is 15. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. So take 7.5. And from this point, you get your shoulder slope. So you come down from this point, you can come down by 0.75, but I'm going to come down by 1 inch. To be able to get 7.5. So from this point, you take your armhole round measurement. So you take your armhole round, divide it by 2. The armhole round I'm going to use is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So from this point, I'll measure 7 inch down. To be able to get a straight line, I'm going to use 8 inches. From this shoulder line, I use 1 point from here to here, and from here to here is 7. So making 8. So that we can get a straight line. To get our chest line, I'm going to come down by 8 inch to get a straight line. So from this shoulder line, I'll measure 8 inches. To 7.5, 7.5, and 7.5. Connect shoulder slope. And connect it down. So on the chest line, this is now your chest line. On the chest line, take your bust measurement. So the bust measurement is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. Add 1 inch. So you connect it from this point. So that's the front. So the next line is your under bust. So the under bust I'm using is 14 inches. You can use 13 inches. It depends on what your under bust is, but I'm going to use 14 inches. the waistline. So the waistline I'm using is 17 inches. After your waist, you get your hip line if you want to make a dress. So usually from your waist, the hip line should be between 8 and 9. So but to 17, I'm going to add 8, which is 25. You now need to get your darts. So to get your darts, you need to get your bust to bust measurements, and you now divide it to 2. So the bust to bust measurement I'm using is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So from the center of the pattern, and you know if you are using a material, it's on fold. So from the center on the bust, you measure 4 inches. You measure it down. Also on the under bust, on the waist, if it's a blouse. But if it is a dress, you know, you need to extend it down to the hip, but you will need to come up by 2 inches. Let's connect this down. And to get the dart width, if you really want the dress to be like fitted, you can use this formula: B bust minus waist, then divide by 2. So whatever you get is what you are going to divide round both the front and the back. But in this case, I'm just going to use half an inch. So taking the width of the dart, so assuming this is the length of the blouse, we just come up by 2 inches. So that's where our line is going to stop. And here you measure 4 inches. And you come up by 2 inches. So you connect from here up. Going to take half inch. So you start taking it from your waist. So this is our waistline. I'll take half inch on both sides. And also on the bust line, I'll come down by 1 inch. So from this point, I will now connect from waist to that point. Also connect down. I also do the same at the other side. And I will now take all my round measurements. So you now need the length of the material. So on this horizontal line now, we need to take our vertical measurement. On the horizontal line, we need to take our vertical measurement. So this vertical measurement is your body round measurement. So that's where you need your shoulder, you need your armhole round, you need your bust measurement, you need your waist round. If it is a dress, you need your hip measurements, and you also need the length for the material. We now take our round measurements now. Bust is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. So under bust is 28. 28 divided by 4 is 7. I will add 1 inch to it. And on the waistline, I take waist round measurement. Waist round measurement is 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. So you now add 1 inch that's to it. And if it is your material, you also need to add allowance, like 1 inch allowance to your fabric. So the hip, on the hip line, the hip is 40. 40 divided by 4 is 10. If it's your fabric, you also need to add like 1 inch sewing allowance. So now connect all these points. Then you connect your measurements. And that's it. But you should remember that you need to add sewing allowance if you are going to cut it on a fabric. Always add sewing allowance. On the waist, you add like 1.5 inches, 1 inch at the M, 1 inch at the chest line. So always add your sewing allowance. So all you need to do now is to cut it out. So for the back, you also take your measurement from the shoulder. From the shoulder line, you take your bust. Take your bust line. Bust line is 10 inches. For the waistline, the back waist is always shorter than the front. So I'm going to subtract 1 inch from my back length. The line for the back dress is always shorter than the front. So I'm going to subtract 1 from the front one was 17. So I'm going to use 16 for my back waistline. So this waistline, you should remember to make up for it in the front so that the back will not be, they'll be of the same size. Try to match the waistline of the front to the back. Place both front and back. Try to locate where you have the waistline, where it starts, so that make sure it's the same thing with the length. So on the shoulder line, we need to take our back neck. So for the neck width, you can either divide the round. If you take your measurements, take the round of your neck and you divide it by 5, 3 inches. And for the depth of the back, I'm going to use 1 inch. So you connect. The shoulder width. Shoulder is 15. Divide by 2 is 7.5. And you get your shoulder slope, come down by 1 inch. Connect it. Also use your armhole round, 14 divided by 2, 7. Take your shoulder measurement, connect it to the shoulder measurement, 7.5. So you know, for you to be able to get a straight line, just take 8 inches from the shoulder line. Now connect point. Down. And for me to be able to get the curve, I'll use the so now you take your bust measurement. Bust measurements 36 divided by 4, 9. So I can just connect the back to that point. The back that you also use the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, so which is 4. So on the waist, take 4 inches. On the chest line, take 4 inches. At the end of the dress, you take 4 inches. But you have to come up by 2 inches. On the chest line, come down by 1 inch. So you now take half inches from both sides. And the waist, take half inch. Then you now connect it to this point. So you now take your body round measurement. On the waist 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. So you add 1 inch for the dart. And you remember, if it is on your fabric, you need to add 1 inch for your allowance. So the hip 40 divided by 4, 10. Now connect it